Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast, where I have the amazing opportunity to bring some awesome guests that are going to provide us with some motivation, inspiration, and education all at the same time. And we just have a wonderful guest today. We have Mara Rodriguez, who is a wild animal trainer whose career has spanned over 30 years. And as a self-described people person, Mara utilizes her love of coaching and mentoring college students as a staff member at the teaching zoo at Moorpark College, where she has motivated hundreds of people towards their dream jobs in zoos. She believes anything is possible when it comes to behavior, animal and human alike. When years of experience raising and walking lions and tigers on a leash, Mara translates all of her animal behavior knowledge to humans and even admits to training her son to do anything using positive reinforcement. Mara was named Moorpark College Classified Employee of the Year in 2016 and California Classified Employee of the Year in 2022. She has trained a few hundred animals spanning nearly 100 species, but her favorite animal to train is the human. Mara, so excited to have you on the show. And I don't know, did you see the music that I put? We were so excited. We put the music with the Lion King music with your little vignette on promoting the show. I was so excited about it. So excited.
I have the best job in the world. Let's just be honest. I have the best job in the world. I get to work with animals, but most important, I get to motivate people who come to Moorpark College, who go through this program to follow their dreams. So I have 30 years worth of stories about tigers and monkeys and lions and hyenas, but I also have 30 years of stories of, young people who have come to this program to follow their dreams and help inspire them and motivate them to reach their goals and get that dream job.
I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to allowing you the time to share the stories about the animals, share the stories about the people, and most of all, share the stories about your life and how you've come to be a trainer at Moorpark College. So, why don't we start very first thing? What was your motivation behind becoming an animal trainer?
I have a kind of interesting story because unlike a lot of animal people, I don't have that. I grew up on a farm, or I grew up knowing that I wanted to work with animals. You want to know what I actually wanted to do when I was 11 years old? I saved my money to buy an electric guitar because I wanted to be the guitarist for Prince and the Revolution at the time.
Wow.
I was a city girl. I loved music. I loved going to the mall. It was really weird, but the game changer for me was one animal. And there's those magical moments. I love using that because I think they happen all the time. And if we're open to seeing them, they can change your life. I had a magical moment with a pigeon, believe it or not. And this pigeon was a wild pigeon, fall out of the nest. Someone brought it into the counseling office at my high school in Pasadena, and nobody knew what to do with it. And something in me clicked. Something inside of me triggered, like, I've got to help this animal. This animal can't help itself. We can't find its mother. And it was that moment. I remember standing in the counseling office. Nobody else, cared about what was going on, but that was the life-changing moment. I took that pigeon home. I had no idea what to do. I called some vets. They told me you have to feed it every 2 hours and it can't go without food, and you have to, make sure it eats constantly. So at 16 years old, I was waking up every 2 hours. I was allowed to bring it to school with me. I was feeding it every 2 hours. And I realized, like, a lot of 16-year-olds don't want to wake up and feed a baby in the middle of the night. And I had no problem doing it. And that's when my desire to caretake for animals and be a nurturer and work with animals, it happened. And then I decided, after a few trips to SeaWorld and watching people swim with dolphins and do all that stuff that looked incredibly fun, that there was going to be something in my future with animals. And then I asked trainers at SeaWorld about how they got their experience, and they told me about Moorpark College.
Wow. How cool is that? It's very rare that someone can pinpoint that magical moment as you described. And I have seen it so many times in my career as an instructor and as a coach, and watching people grow up, and you just kind of see these moments happen right before you. I can remember a few very distinct moments that I said I wanted to be a martial arts instructor, because I had so many people that poured into me, and I was like, wow, I really like, these guys are changing my life, and
Yeah.
what, maybe I could do that, and it's just like
Right.
that thought process that starts going through your mind. And so cool that going to SeaWorld, in San Diego, California, right, told you
Yep.
about Moorpark College, which is one of only two, if I'm not mistaken, right, in the
Yes.
entire United States. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about the Moorpark College Training Zoo program, and how it started, how it's evolved. Jackie and I were so fortunate. You gave us the opportunity to come to a celebration. It was was it
The
50th? 50th,
50th.
right?
Yep.
And I learned so much just in that few hours, and listening to the people that had trained there, and people that have gone through the program. And being a Moorpark College graduate myself, Jackie and we would always know about the zoo, but we never really knew about the zoo until
Right.
we meet you, right? So tell everybody that's watching a little bit more about the zoo.
So the teaching zoo at Moorpark College is really special because it provides an opportunity for the students who are in the exotic animal training and management program to work and gain hands-on experience. So at every junior college, we all know there are majors. You major in business, you major in English, you major in math. At Moorpark College, there's a major in exotic animal training and management. So we attract students who dream of working with wild animals from all over the country and even all over the world. Because what we've got, we don't just have the curriculum where you're sitting in the classroom and being lectured on behavior, nutrition, and conservation. We have the zoo that provides the hands-on experience that our students can put on their resume. And now we're an accredited zoo, which makes it a bonus. Our students put that on their resume, and they're more likely to get hired because they've been through this really flagship program, and they've been at roll call at 6:30 in the morning, and they've worked in the wind, they've worked in the rain, they've trained animals, they've presented animals to the public when we're open on the weekends. So we are a living, breathing lab where the creatures are the teachers.
I love it. One of the things that I noticed right away when we started visiting a little bit more frequently, and working with your students, you can see the sense of pride. You can just see how much everybody loves to just be there,
Mhm.
and how much they love the animals, they love the program, they love the team. And it was really apparent to me when we attended the 50th anniversary how much of an extended family it was for people that started in the 70s and through the decades as they went along, and how people are still so connected to the zoo. How is that culture created?
Well, I think as as you experience, I'm sure, in the many things that you do, it is not a job, it's a lifestyle. So there is this like team mentality. We're all in the trenches. We're all here early. We're all dirty. We're all outside, working hard, and we all have the one common goal of it's not about us. It's about the animals. So when you work around people like that day after day, year after year, and in the students' case, they're working with their classmates for 2 years, you start to build this camaraderie that's just so natural because there is one motivation, and that is caring for the animals, and we all share that. Um, and so there is that constant. Like we had a woman who was a student in the program back in the 70s, and I could relate to her because we had been through this same thing. Does the zoo look different? Yes, thank goodness. Are the animals different? Yes, all but five. But we do share that mentality of like, we went through this, we did this, and it was for the animals, and we will share that forever and ever.
That's so awesome. So very cool. Now tell me and tell the audience a little bit more about, you went to SeaWorld and you wanted to learn more about, training animals, and they said Moorpark College. So what was going on in high school? You told us the pigeon story, right? But
Yeah.
what else was going on in high school? What were your goals for college, and how did you eventually make your way to Moorpark College?
So I come from two parents who I'm blessed. I did hit the jackpot. I know that's not the norm for everyone, but I did hit the parent jackpot. And they were also educators, both teachers and then administrators, and very supportive of all of me and my sisters, all of our educational goals. I thought I wanted to go to a 4-year university until I decided, okay, wait, I want to work with animals, and there's got to be a different way to do things. And when I found out about the program at Moorpark College, it was a bit of a conversation. And I also think this was 33, 34 years ago. It was before there were so many trade programs that are amazing, these career training programs that you can find at a lot of different junior colleges now. So I was coming from, a friend group that was very much, you go to a 4-year university and you walk the path, right? So it was kind of strange that I wanted to go to a junior college and go off the path. So my parents were supportive. They saw that I was passionate. They as educators knew that supporting a person's individual needs and not, necessarily jumping on the bandwagon and attending a 4-year university because everyone else was something that I should dabble in. So I was right out of high school. I applied for the program. And I bombed the interview. Because back then you had to interview to get into this program, and it was very intense. They set a timer, they put it on the table in front of you. They asked you if you would ever hit an animal. And at 17 years old, like, I didn't know what was right and what was wrong to say. I was not the speaker I am now. So I did not get in to the program the first time. I went to UC Santa Barbara, which I know a lot of people would say that was your backup school. But I had the greatest time and I loved it. And I was involved and I worked at the front desk of my dorm and I joined the gospel choir. I'm one of those like jump in and do everything people like you. I had a great year, but I also knew that that's not where I wanted to be. And I knew that was not where I would get the experience I needed to fulfill this passion in me to do what I wanted to do. So I applied again after 1 year at UC Santa Barbara to the program at Moorpark College. By that time, I had practiced the interview. I knew what to expect. I was a little more confident and I nailed it and I got in. And my parents were very happy and supportive. And I will kind of always be known as that person in my friend group who didn't do the path and didn't do the norm and kind of like, the groundbreaker here. So I'm proud of that. I wear that as a badge.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it's so easy for children, young adults to make decisions based on, what everybody else is doing or what you think you're supposed to do or what fits inside the box or follows the path, like you said, right? It is hard, and I can relate to that because starting a business at 19 years old, I opened my martial arts school at 19, no education, no background, no savings, no business plan, no nothing, but I had a passion. So like you, we have a passion for something so great that it's like, listen, nothing's going to stand in my way. We're going to be a trailblazer. We're going to be a groundbreaker. We're going to, do things differently. I can definitely relate to that. Now, tell us about the that interview process and how, like now, how many people apply and how many spots are there typically? Because I was really shocked by that. I was like, wow, that's like finding a needle in a haystack or, like winning the lottery.
Right. We get a few hundred applications and we accept 50 people every year. Back actually in the 80s and 90s, we received even more applications. Now we have a little competition with some really interesting online animal training schools, which I don't really understand that, but so everybody has different, resources, and some cannot afford to move to California and do this program. And I totally get that. So it is, there's a lot of competition. And back when we did interviews, it was really rigorous, and they really wanted to make sure. And I remember when I've been here working 31 years. So I was on those interview panels, and it was really like, okay, let's test these people. Let's put them in an uncomfortable situation and see how they perform. And because that's what this career is. We're uncomfortable a lot because we don't put ourselves first. We're putting our students first. We're putting our animals first. We're putting the zoo as, a facility first. So it was very competitive to get in. Now it's a little bit different. It's streamlined in a different way that we don't do the interviews anymore. But still, we want to make sure our students know they are not coming here to cuddle animals.
Right. Right. So tell us what an average day might look like, waking up early and feeding the animals, preparing things for the day. What does a typical day look like for you?
For all of us here, the zoo is clean for the first 2 hours of the day. So our students get here at 6:30 on Monday through Friday and 8 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. And it's 2 hours of cleaning. Then it is feeding, medicating the animals, exercising the animals, giving the enrichment that they need. Every weekday at 10:30, we host school children here, and our students are presenting shows for our school children. And we're really operating as a zoo that, anyone would assume, you take a field trip to a zoo. Well, they do that here too. So there are physical projects on the zoo that we do. We trim branches, we build things, we host guests who are here for tours. We do all of the PR and the marketing and the events. And so imagine, a normal zoo that has probably upwards of 20 different departments within that zoo. We've got, some students and about 8 staff members who do all of that work of, say, 21 departments at a zoo. Wow. So it's fun. Every day is different.
Yeah. That's that can be really fun, that every day is different. Every day, you got different things going on, different experiences. Tell us more about the animals. Tell us about, some of your favorites and some of the ones that have been there the longest, and some of the ones that are maybe the most exotic.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that what I have learned from animals, like, a lot of people will ask me, who are your heroes? Who motivated you? And I could go on and on about the humans that have motivated me. But I really think that I have a special perspective because I have been taught by so many animals who I, in turn, was supposed to be teaching them, right? But we have really special animals here, that I've raised. I raised the 2 tigers we have here, Neil and Karma. They're 6 years old. They've been here since they were just a couple months old. He was rescued from the illegal pet trade. He was found at a house in the Hollywood Hills. So we rescued him, and then we got Karma, the female, donation from another zoo just to be his companion. And so I had the pleasure of knowing them and nurturing relationships with those 2 tigers ever since they were babies. There are animals here at the zoo, like we have a gibbon, which is a lesser ape, and we have some parrots here. They've been here as long as I have. And so those animals are special to me because they've grown old with me. They've been here so long that I have been through life, my whole adult life, with those animals. We also have a lion who is amazing. His name is Ira. He lives in a beautiful exhibit with like this whole rock formation that I swear he is, trying to look like Simba in the Lion King movie. He sits at the top of that rock and he lets the wind breeze, the breeze go through his mane, and he is just the king of this campus. So he's really special. We have a tortoise, a Galapagos tortoise that's 100 years old. He actually came from the Galapagos Islands back 100 years ago when they were trying to save the species. And back then they took individual tortoises from the Galapagos Island to try to just raise the numbers of the species. And they were going to do that in a zoo, because the zoos are the place for conservation and for breeding animals who need that help.
Mm-hmm.
So he's 100 years old, but he is the greatest ambassador. Anybody can meet him. Anybody can pet him. He's my kind of model for how you should live life. He eats dandelions and cactus, and he just chills out all day. Nice. And I think that's the secret to living to 100.
I guess I need to start eating more cactus.
Yes.
You know what I love how you talk about, learning from the animals, right? You're the trainer, you're the teacher. And for me, again, I can relate, because I learned so much from 3-year-olds and mm-hmm. My students teach me so much, right. By the way that they behave, by the way that they learn, by the way they react to certain situations. So tell me a little bit about how you tie together the behavior of animals and humans, and how you work on their training behaviors.
It is so incredible that what you can do with behavior, if you're just learning simple tactics, if you will, in animal training and behavioral observation and operant conditioning and reinforcement and punishment, all of the things I've learned to train animals that can be applied to humans so simply. But I always tell people we have the most problems as humans relating to others and raising our kids and motivating, coworkers, because we think too dang hard. As humans, our brains are so evolved and we bring emotion into things. But when I think about it, and sometimes I'll tell myself this, if I'm in a bit of a challenging moment with a person, I will actually say to myself, if I can teach a tiger to walk next to me on a leash, I should be able to figure out how to motivate this person at work to, maybe stop tapping their pencil on their desk so loud. And those are the tools that animal training has done for me, because animal training is about watching for the behavior that we want, that is positive, and then reinforcing that behavior. It is that simple. And if you do that hour after hour and day after day, you can modify behavior and bring out the things you want in an animal so easily. And, I did these same things with my son, and it worked. I got him to wake up to an alarm. I trained him to wake up to an alarm. I trained him to do his homework without having a fit or complaining. I taught him how to have a nighttime routine and go to bed on time at the same time every night. And I used all operant conditioning. All of it was reinforce the positive, ignore the negative. And it's amazing what you can do with just that simple knowledge. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think as humans, we are always looking for what the person is doing wrong. And you can't do that with animals, especially with the tiger. You'll get killed. So it really has shifted and clicked in my brain that we're always looking for the good. We're always looking for the good, and then we're reinforcing it. And reinforcement for a human can be a good job, or, a pat on the back, a hug. It can be an ice cream cone. For my son, it was miniature marshmallows. When he was little, I trained him with miniature marshmallows.
Wow. Well, I love that you explain it as behavior modification, and talking about, the consistency, right? As humans, we talk so much about, being disciplined, and that's how we create habits, and our habits are what keep us healthy and living longer and being successful, right? And these are all the things that you're talking about that we do with animals. But you're right. I think that humans, the emotional side comes into play so much, and then we kind of get inside our head, and then we try to over analyze it instead of sticking with the basics.
Right.
Just keeping it simple makes it so much easier.
The other thing that I really learned too was that all living creatures like choices, right? And our animals like choices, and always giving the animal a choice. Do you want to come out for a walk today? Do you not? Do you want to come out and be pet by, someone on a tour today, or do you not? And I think with humans, that is the most important part of motivating and training a human, is giving the human the choice. And that is where we use this, really specialized brain and empower whoever it is we're trying to motivate or train. So with my son, what I would do is I would ask him, as soon as we were about to pull in the garage to our apartment, do you want to do your homework first, or do you want to watch your half hour of TV? And right from the get-go, he could make that choice. And I found that really works with my students as well, is empowering them with choice, makes them feel like they have more control over their behavior, which leads them to wanting to do the positive thing.
Yeah.
So, you can't make a tiger, or you can't make a 600-pound Galapagos tortoise do anything. So when I hear, people say like, oh, I couldn't get my son to do that, I was like, well, you could.
Yeah. Well, and I wish I work with parents every single day, right? And young children. And I cannot tell you how many times I hear, I can't make them practice. I can't make them come to class. I don't want to make them do anything they don't want to do. But what you said is so key. And the way that you raised your son by saying, do you want to do your homework first, or do you want to watch TV first? You're going to get to do both, but which one do you want to, and empowering them with that choice, right? And so instead of saying, do you want to do karate, for example? Do you want to do karate? Yes or no? Or do you want to do martial arts on Monday or on Tuesday?
Yeah.
See, it's a different way of asking the question to still get the positive result, right? But empowering that person or animal to make a choice, I think, is so key and so important. So, for any parents that might be listening, that's just a great parenting tip, is ask the question in a way that's going to produce a positive result on either side of their choice. And I think that that's key. Hey, I want to thank everybody for watching, everybody that's out there live. And of course, anybody that's watching this on the replay. But do me a favor, go to YouTube, subscribe to Master Motivation Podcast so you can make sure you don't miss any of these awesome interviews. How about now?
You got it. I can hear you.
Okay. I think my microphone just checked out. I tapped the wire.
You got the little slash through the microphone sign.
I know, I tapped the wire. So again, what I was saying is, guys, please make sure to subscribe to Master Motivation Podcast. And we're talking to Mara Rodriguez, and we're talking about the teaching zoo at Moorpark College and her experience there. So we've been talking about the animals and training behaviors and some of the history. What are some of your more personal successes? What are some of the things that you are most proud of?
Well, I mean, you said personal, so I'm most proud. I feel like parenting has been a success for me. I feel like the relationship that I have with my son, and that I was a single mom until he was 7. I think facing that in a positive way and creating a relationship that was based on the good and the positive, and having fun together, that is one of my successes for sure, is still maintaining that today, even though he's moved out and a successful business person. And I'm still just grateful for the investment that we made in each other in that relationship. I'm also, of course, I'm very gratified by my work and all of the different things that I do here. Fundraising to build a new exhibit for the tigers, which is bigger and better. All of the animals that I've raised and I've trained who have become our students' biggest teachers. I love that. And I look back on all those different, magical moments with animals that I feel like, wow, I invested that time and that energy into those creatures. And I'm so proud. But I'm also really proud that I've finished 10 marathons, and that I have a job that's very demanding and very physical. And yet I still took on the challenge of deciding when I went to the finish line of the LA Marathon when my son was 5 years old, that I wanted that feeling. And I wanted to be that person crossing the finish line that my son could cheer for. And I ran the LA Marathon the very next year, and I ran 10 total. So
Wow.
that is another huge personal accomplishment for me, because that takes some serious training. You don't just like go out and run a marathon.
No.
It takes about 23 weeks of 5-day-a-week regimented training. And I also became a coach for the LA Marathon because of my dedication. And, I think some of my rah-rah that I have, they like that. And I became a coach.
Are you going to run another marathon?
That is interesting, because my coworker just asked me yesterday if I miss running, and I definitely miss running in that way. I would love to carve out that space again for something that's so positive for me mentally and physically, because it's just as much mental therapy to run in that way as it is physical.
Yeah.
And people always ask me like, oh, that's so long. You're running for so long, and it's 5 hours, and oh my gosh, it's, your training runs are 12 miles, and
Right.
you must listen to music, right? And no, because it is just about one of the only times my brain can shut off and I can take in the world. And the benefits that I gained from running and training I can't even describe. So I think I'll do it again.
That would be awesome. And I might have to pick your brain on that, because it has been on my bucket list to run a marathon for probably, the last 5 to 10 years. It's been on my mind. It was actually, I was signed up for LA 3 years ago. And that's when I got COVID for the first time. So and then I couldn't run it. But so many things that you said, like, spark thoughts in my mind. Number one, I said that I hated running. I always said I hated running. I hate running. I don't like running.
Everybody says I said I hated running.
Right. And you know why? You know why I hated running? Because I wasn't good at it, because I didn't put the time into it. But that whole thing of having that runner's high, where you're just like, you're in a tunnel, you're in a zone. And once you get going, I mean, like the first miles, sometimes the first couple miles can be difficult to get to let your mind stop, especially people like us that are constantly on the go, always involved in something, moving on to the next, right? But once you get through that first couple miles, it's like everything just like literally peels away and falls away, and it's just you and the road in front of you,
right?
And all you're thinking about is, I'm getting one step closer to that finish line. And, I've done several half marathons, and my favorite thing is I love the Spartan races. So you got to run a Spartan race. You got to do the Spartan race. It's going to be so fun. Chris and Doug Barrett, myself, we got it. John Courtney's doing it. Come on. It's a Rotary thing. You got to do it.
Okay. Maybe I'll try.
And Jackie's done one. But they're so fun because, what's great about the Spartan races are that the camaraderie out there. Because, in a marathon, like, you might run with people for a little while, but kind of everybody's, going on at your own pace unless you're pacing with somebody. But like the Spartan race, like everybody kind of runs together and you do the obstacles together. And it's just, the big rah thing. That was super cool for me. But I have yet to do that marathon. And it, the training is scary. Anytime you have a task that is going to take, 23 weeks, right? To actually prepare. You cannot get off the couch. You could go do a 5K, right? You can get off the couch and do a 5K. You're not getting
Yeah.
off the couch and doing a marathon, because it goes back to that discipline, that
Right.
behavior modification, the consistency, the positive reinforcement. I mean, when you're preparing for something like this, you need all of these things that we've been talking about, when it comes to training. So I think maybe I did know that you ran marathons, but I didn't know that you run 10 marathons.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
I did my first one and thought like, okay, that was cool. And then they asked me to be a coach. And so I was running with the team. So it was inspiring.
Yeah.
And then I decided, oh, now I want to run the San Diego. Now I want to run in Cincinnati. And, I was at an expo for the marathon, and I saw one of these things you hang on your wall that has hooks for your medals. And the one I wanted had 10 hooks. Yep. And I bought it, and I said, I'm going to fill that. And so that's what I did.
I had Jackie did the same for me when I was doing my Spartan races. She bought one of those racks, and I said, well, if it's got that many hooks, that's how many medals I need to put on that sucker.
Keep going.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this.
I will tell you, Jason, about running a marathon that taught me, like, personally, when you said, you go out there and the first, 2 miles is the hardest. Finishing a marathon is about problem solving. So what I realized is like, oh, this is so hard the first 2 or 3 miles. When you start really going long distance, sometimes it's the first 8 miles. But then you start to learn about yourself and about the process. And then what I learned was, okay, I don't feel so great at 3 miles because my body is used to running 12 miles. I'm not even warmed up yet. So I'm still going through those growing pains. And then you feel a little like twitch in your side, and you think, okay, well, I'm only at mile 12. I have 14 miles to go. What am I going to do? Then you start to, maybe shift a little or breathe deeper or take in more water or, slow down. And the whole process is about, action and reaction, and really learning your body and understanding the thing that humans do more than anything in the world: worry. It taught me, don't worry, just keep going. Deal with this problem, deal with this glitch, deal with this little twinge in my stomach. And that was the coolest thing about it, I think.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So cool. Well, we'll have to talk more about that, in the future, and what's going to happen there. I want to go back to the zoo because I forgot to ask, what are some misconceptions about what happens at a zoo? What are some of the things that are I don't want to say urban legends, but like when people have they have these preconceived notions of
misconceptions,
right, of what goes on. So what are some of the things, and let's debunk some of those thoughts.
Okay. I think the very first one is that zoos are a place where we exploit animals. I think that the last about 5 years of social media being so prolific regarding the animal rights movement has really led people to believe that zoos are a place of exploitation of animals, and we're a business, and all we think about is money, and all we want to do is exploit the animals for profits. Well, let me tell you, there's not a lot of profits, but I think it's so hurtful to me because, whoever's listening to me right now can obviously tell that I'm passionate about what I do. And I give up a lot in life to do what I do, to care for animals. And, there's a stream of about 10 years where every Christmas morning, my family was with me here because I was the staff in charge of cleaning the animals that day with the students. There are things we give up for animals that are so far from exploiting them. That just really, it just makes me so upset because, a little bit of that narrative was put out there and just blew up. So that is my first really hot button. I think the other thing goes back to animal training, that animal training is negative and we're forcing animals to do things they don't want to do. And I think that it's sad that certain people who think that don't understand the power of great relationships, nurturing a relationship, operant conditioning, positive reinforcement. So there's a lot of people I think that still think, the old image of like the lion tamer with a whip and a chair. And that's not how we do things. It's sad because it's all based on choice and reinforcement. And so that is the other one that like animal train. Oh, they train their animals there. Yeah, you should be training your animals at home and your kids and your husbands. And training is good. Training means that we're bringing out the best in animals, people, whatever it is. So yeah, that's another misconception.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to throw this comment up there because we have a good friend of yours who is watching, and this is Dory, and she said, "As Mara's best friend, I'm just thrilled that we had her on the podcast. She is
Oh,
incredible." And I agree. I couldn't wait to have you on the show, and I know Jackie's probably out there watching too, and she was super excited to hear from you today. So thank you, Dory, for watching, and thanks for commenting. And if anybody else is watching live, if you guys have questions that you want to know, please post them in the comments as we get ready to wrap up here in the next few minutes. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your questions. So is there anything else? Are there any other preconceived notions, any other things that we can debunk? I mean, I think you hit the two that those were right off the bat.
Right. The other one is that the animals aren't happy. We have a lot of people visit the zoo and they will walk past an animal who's sleeping. And a lot of time it's the big, really high profile animals that people see a lot on Instagram and social media. They'll walk past the lion, they'll walk past the tiger, and the animals will be sleeping, which they do for, just like your house cat, 18 to 22 hours a day. And people will say, oh, they look sad. I would like to remind people that judging something as you're walking past it, or judging anything in life in 2 seconds, is not educated. And we don't do that to people. We don't do that to a restaurant that we go visit. We settle in, we eat first, and then we make our judgment. But there's something about zoos and people's connections to animals that when they see an animal in a certain posture or sleeping, they anthropomorphize. And that means, for anybody out there that doesn't know, applying human emotion to animals, they anthropomorphize so quickly. And to me, that shows a real lack of wanting to really understand. Because if you asked me, that animal looks sad, can you tell me what I'm seeing? I would say that animal's actually sleeping. It loves the sun. That's its favorite spot. And she tends to nap there for hours a day. And then boom, problem solved. So, something I've heard, people say, oh, those monkeys look sad. And I'll ask them, well, tell me what a happy monkey would look like. And they can't answer.
Right.
So it's those discussions. And then, I'm not a jerk or anything. I say, well, okay, so let's talk about this then. And let me teach you something. And it takes energy. And a lot of my energy these days is used on promoting the truth about what's actually going on here and what the animal's behavior actually is. That's very prominent now when we have public here, is being out there forward facing, on offense, not defense, and just having conversations with guests.
Right. Well, my last question will be, in the last couple of years, you've been involved with the zoo for many years, right? Over 30 years. And now, you're so involved in the community as a whole, right? Getting out there, like you said, letting people know about the zoo, letting people know what you do, letting people know what opportunities there are to get involved. What drove you to get, or maybe even what allowed you to get more involved in our local community, joining the Rotary Club, going to, more events and getting out there? Because obviously you have a very busy job that requires a lot of you. But something had to happen where it allowed you to be out there more. It allowed you to jump in and put yourself out there. Why was that?
Because nothing gets done when you try to do it alone. I realized that being here at the zoo every day was a comfort zone, right? But we weren't going to bust through and be, everybody's favorite zoo in Ventura County if I just stayed in this office all day. And what I realized was getting involved, getting into the community, joining things like Rotary, and trying to allow people to see the good work we do while serving the community was like the magic ticket right there. It was the thing missing from what I had been doing for 28 years before. I also believe that when you serve, that service that you invest comes back tenfold. So I think it's a good example to my students for them to see those of us that work here serve the community. And because of that, I have people like you who so firmly support us and, motivate others to come visit. And I have businesses who want to help support the zoo and sponsor things. And it's all because my parents taught me that being a service-minded human being that's going to make you happy. So thanks to them.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you did, because Jackie and I would not have had the pleasure of meeting you and working with you and getting to know all the great things that you do. And like you said, you can only do so much alone, but when you surround yourself with people that are service-minded, it just really has a much greater impact on our community and, our region as a whole. I mean, it continues to spread out. So I'm so happy that you did. Any last message for people that are watching, since this is a motivational podcast or inspirational, right? What would be your advice to those that are watching?
My advice is that everybody's future and everybody's motivations and everybody's desires to, be, or their definition of successful is different. And I think embracing that, and what worked for me, I'm sure everybody's heard this, might not work for you, but you're going to be the storyteller of your story. Fast forward 30 years. When I was 18, I didn't think I'd be sitting here and have these successes and be as happy as I am. But I just think really tapping into yourself and being mindful about what fulfills you, what makes you happy. For me, I'm a perfect example of turn that into a job, turn that into your thing that you do every day, and by golly, get paid for. That is something that I hope I can help motivate people and see that, people a lot of times will just straight out ask me, why are you so happy? And I don't really think about it. I just live and I'm grateful. And that's my other favorite word besides magical moments and looking for those magical moments is gratitude, and looking for something to be grateful for in everything that happens for you, even when it's negative, because in those darkest times, you're going to learn something that help you deal with it the next time it happens. So I try to just be a physical example of motivation. And when you do that, people are watching, and I think it's inspiring.
Yeah. Well, I agree. When I see you, I can tell how much you love what you do. Right. And we all have, the stressful part of our job or career or what's going on. Right. But when you really, truly love what you do, I mean, you just show up excited to everything. So I think your advice of find what you love to do, find what your passion is, find what fulfills you. Everybody's definition of success is so very different. Couldn't agree with that more. I spent so much of my life trying to live up to the success of what other people defined. And when I was able to truly figure out what made me feel fulfilled, man, that's a game changer. So I think that's amazing, amazing advice. And I'm so happy to have had you on the show today and have this wonderful conversation with you. And I look forward to doing many more things with you in our community. So Mara, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. This was great.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Well, hey, listen, go out and make it a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week and think of something today that you are grateful for. Try to remind yourself every day. Attitude of gratitude. Make it a great one, guys. Talk to you soon.